Well, welcome to the Sean Trey Show, and welcome to all of our guests watching. Hopefully, it's millions of people. Thanks, probably my mom and some good close friends, but that's okay. Who are you, and what do you do?
My name is Val, and I'm a skateboarder based in Venice, California. As far as what I do, I basically follow the adventure, follow the stoke. I don't have like a full-time job right now, so I'm kind of just skateboarding and surfing and traveling.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, how did you get into skateboarding? How did you get started in this journey?
So I actually used to play on a semi-professional soccer team in New Zealand.
Oh,
and
interesting.
My best friend, So I grew up playing soccer. I played in college, and I was thinking about continuing to play after college. And so I was traveling. It's a long story, but I was basically traveling the world. We have time. Okay, perfect. So I finished my master's program, graduated, went to Japan, did my master's thesis there, and then was like...
In what? What was your master's thesis in?
Yeah, I got my master's in business management, and I worked with a company over there working on their market expansion strategy. A lot of crazy stuff, but I decided I wasn't ready to jump in and start working yet. So I basically spent the year traveling. So I went to Japan, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, spent the whole year I learned how to surf. And then my friend was like, dude, we need a center back on this semi-pro soccer team in New Zealand. And I was like, oh shoot, that sounds super fun. I just graduated college. I'd still been playing soccer. And so I flew over to New Zealand, got a van over there, did the whole surf thing, traveled, and then landed in Wellington, where I played on that soccer team for a couple months. And the girls on the soccer team were super into skateboarding. They were every day they were dude, we're going to go skate. Do you want to come? And I hadn't skated at all at that point. And I was like, no, I can't really skate. I'm good. And then eventually they got me to come with them to the skate park, and I hopped on a board, and I was like, oh my God, this is so scary, but so fun. And I was probably the least coordinated person ever. My first time on the skateboard. I just remember being whoa, this is feels so weird, and I'm going to fall and all these things. But I also just fell in love with that challenge, and also the feeling of being able to basically glide on cement. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into skateboarding.
That's awesome. And since that time, it's just kind of been all in.
Totally. All in. I bought my first carver about 3 years ago, and ever since then I've skated probably every day. And I would say my friends have shifted from soccer friends to surf friends, and now it's just all the friends I make and all the friends that I have currently are just all my skate park homies.
That's awesome.
I've spent all of COVID, my best friend and I, or my two best friends and I, traveled all up and down California coast, up to Oregon, just skating all the different parks and making memories. And
that's awesome. Now that's really cool. Now, how did I want to ask a little bit about where did you grow up, and how did you get into soccer and all that?
I grew up in a really small town called Sonoma County.
I know Sonoma.
Sonoma County is, I guess, the county, but the town is called Occidental, which is it's super country, no neighbors. I grew up in the middle of nowhere.
I know Occidental.
You know Occidental?
I do. No. I do. My family's in the Napa Valley. So my brother's in Calistoga, and my mom's over in Santa Helena. So we are neighbors.
There's a good skate park in Santa Helena, by the way.
There is. There's an amazing skate park. One of my brother's best friends from school is a skater that is always in Santa Helena, Walker Ryan. And he's a pro skater, and they always are skating that park. So
oh my God, it's amazing. So fun.
It's a fun. They rallied for a long time to get that skate park put in. It was a a big thing. And, you know, the town was not ready for it. They were just like super unsure, you know, what type of seedy element is this going to bring to our town? But then it was great, and it was beautifully done, and the kids had a place to play, and it was super enriching. But for a while, they were terrified. The town was terrified.
Towns are, I feel like. Malibu, since I live close to Malibu, there's a little skate park there, and they're trying to build a big one, but they're like facing the same challenges of like, what kind of people are going to come if we build this skate park, and like all of those worries. But yeah, also crazy, Occidental, because not many. Right. I'm always like, oh, I'm from Occidental, and everyone's like, oh, Occidental College, and I'm like, no.
So you were growing up in Occidental. Like, how did you get into football or soccer? Yeah. Sorry, I'm living in Asia.
I guess, like, growing up, that was the only sport available. Like, okay, well, I rode horses. That was the other thing. I grew up on an 80-acre ranch.
That's awesome also.
Really amazing. And my brothers had motorcycles, and I had a horse. So it was like, soccer was my first love, but, like, horses and soccer were kind of equal. Like, I was always like begging my parents to get a horse, and they were like, I don't know if you can handle horses and soccer. And I was like, yes, I can, please. And so, yeah, that was my thing. But as far as like sports goes, I remember soccer just kind of being the only thing available in this small town, like soccer or like school volleyball. And I was definitely more of like an aggressive, like, I like wanted to like challenge people, and so that was and then there was like a travel team close to my town in Santa Rosa, so I started playing for the travel team, and then I just kept like moving up from there. We would like travel all around the US to play games. We'd go like up to Oregon, down to San Diego, Arizona, Texas, and from there I realized that like, whoa, I could actually do something with this. Like I could, you know, get a scholarship to college, or, you know, even continue after college. And that was like a really cool thing for me, because I don't know, I guess in the small town, there's not much opportunity like that elsewhere. As far as, you know, you're just like, oh, I don't know. My parents always had these big dreams for me. They're like, you can do whatever you want, like whatever, you know? And so I guess soccer growing up was like, I want to be a professional soccer player, or it was professional soccer player. I want to be in the Olympics one day. And then from there it was like, oh, I could actually like go somewhere with this. And I guess, having the opportunity to like get recruited to play in college was like really awesome, and something that not many people get to do, especially from like my high school had 600 people. And, you know, like that was unheard of. I was like one of the only people at my at my high school that got us like scholarship to play in college. So that's awesome. Pretty amazing.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that you're picking up, I love surfing. I'm a horrible surfer, but I love it. And one of the things that I loved when I was, you know, I grew up down in San Diego County, and we would go out surfing, and you might have a plan, and the ocean has a different plan. And and you start going for a wave, but then you don't get it, and you paddle back out, and then you catch something else. But you have to be present. And sometimes this turns into this, which turns into this. So it's interesting that, you know, you had one thing that turned into something else, and then that turned into something else.
Totally. I think that's basically the theme of my life.
Nice.
It's just like what you said, like staying open to, like, one quote that always comes into my mind is like, if you're open to the world is open to you. So like,
that's awesome.
If like what you said, like I stay open to everything. I stay open to people. I stay open to like possibilities, like travel opportunities, like just staying open and like saying yes to opportunities. Because even if one opportunity isn't meant to be, another one is going to come from that. And I full-heartedly believe that.
Well, I think it's really important to, I had this one exercise that I would love to do. And it's essentially this. It's when I'm driving somewhere whether it be in the US or in Vietnam, I just go with the flow. So if the traffic suddenly stops, I'll be like, I'm going to turn right here and just keep moving. And it is like, my friend would be like, why are you going this way? I'm like, I don't know. It's just flowing. And I just want to kind of go with the flow. And then suddenly something would happen, or I'd bump into someone, or I'd see my friend's car. It's like, oh, hey, there's so-and-so. That's awesome. But if you can go with the flow, if you can kind of follow that path, like it's like magic happens.
Right. It's like divine. It's like you can't create that kind of stuff. It's like there's something else within you that's like guiding you almost.
Yeah. Well, so. I think that in Taoism, the philosophical, one of the philosophical schools in China, like Taoism has this idea of like everything is fluid. And so like, you know, you see people doing Tai Chi and things like that. Yeah. But like in essence, they say, when you are rigid, rigidness is like equal to death. You know, it's like it doesn't allow things to flow. But if you can flow with the energy, like life happens, and life comes at you a million different ways, but you have to be willing to flow. And this is one of the reasons that I love watching skateboarders. I would love to roll out to Venice and watch people in a skate park, because, you know, as you follow that path, it's all in the moment. I'm sure that you guys plan some, but it still seems to me like it's more of an in the moment type of a thing. Can you tell me about that?
Totally. I feel like skateboarding is really the perfect like connection of mind, body, spirit. Like I skate bowls, so they're very like flowy in transition, and that's like my nature is what you're describing, which is like flow. Like I'll, drop in a bowl and I'll just see where the bowl takes me. And from that, you can like create your own lines, and it's almost like a dance you're doing with the bowl. But in those moments, you have to be so connected with your body, because your body is what's like driving the board and what's like controlling the experience. But at the same time, the flow comes from like the spirit of your essence. Like, how how fluid can you be in those moments? How connected can you be with your board, with the bowl, with the wheels underneath your feet? Like, it's such a dance. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like such a connection that you have to have. And it also takes so long to develop that. So it really is just a meditation. Like, how can I stay present in this moment and like master the board, master the body, and master like what's going on outside of that? Yeah, it's beautiful.
There really should be like Zen in the art of skateboarding, because it's like, in ancient Japan, they would have the different arts that would all be kind of seen as a way to refine yourself, whether you were, cutting with a sword or doing archery, and the idea was that this simple task, if done with all of your mind, body, and spirit, could be something that allows you to be in that moment. And I find it for me when I ride motorcycles. When I'm riding a motorcycle and the wind is blowing and traffic is coming, I can't get in my head. I can't. You have to I'm present. I'm watching for cars. I'm watching for this and that. I'm present. And I'm not present for most of my day. And, it's gotten worse for people. Like, like we're out there in this thing,
Right. No, I completely agree. The same thing that you were saying about like, you have to watch for rocks on your motorcycle. Like when you're skating, you also have to like be so aware of your surroundings. Like if I'm skating a bowl, I'm like, oh, is it wet here? Is there sand here? Like, if I hit the coping right here, like, are there pieces missing? Or, you know what I mean? Like you're constantly bringing yourself back to the present moment, bringing yourself back to like the simplest things. And I feel like that's why it's so addicting. Like that's why it's so amazing and pure, is because you're like, you literally can't be anywhere else except for in the present moment, especially when there's danger that's like, waiting for you. Like,
right. Well, and that's why I love surfing, because for me, surfing was always like a journey into the unknown. Every time I paddled out, it was a couple things that I was impressed by every time I surf. First of all, is how I'm not a little guy, but I'm not a big guy. You know, I'm 6 foot. You know, I'm not huge and muscular, but you know, I'm not tiny. You know, and I feel like I have power, right? That gets thrown out the window when you get into the ocean. You know, it's like totally. I think I'm strong, but the second that I have that wall of water going, no, you're not. You know,
totally. Totally. Yeah. It makes you feel so small and insignificant. Like, it almost like washes away the ego. You're like, oh, yes. I'm literally nothing. You know, it's like the same feeling when you stand in Yosemite Valley and you look up at those like huge boulders and you're like, I'm literally nothing. Like, I'm so insignificant. And it's like, how can you not appreciate that? Like, you know?
There's this video that I watched in high school. And it was really old when I was in high school. So now it's like ancient, but it's called The Powers of 10. And it's essentially like it magnifies in and then out of like, if you zoomed out at like, you know, X, you know, like the power of 10. So, you know, like, you know, the little number up in the corner. I'm really bad at math, but you know, and so you pull out, you know, so it starts out with this couple that are these people having a picnic, and it's like, okay, we're going to pull back at a power of 10. And then 10 times that, 10 times that. And you just start getting this exponential, it just pulls all the way back through the solar system into the universe, past the, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And it's like, it's so insignificant. And then they come back in and then they zoom deeper in at powers of 10. And it's like, there's a world inside of us. Yeah. Oh, it's nuts. I'll have to send it. I'll have to send it to you.
When I would love that. I feel like that's so accurate, especially for me right now. It's just a good reminder for me, for everyone. It's like, we get so locked into like the power of one, which is like what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
But the second that you take a step back, you're like, wow, you know, I'm upset I didn't get this job, or I'm upset I didn't get invited to this. But it's like you take a step back and there's such a bigger picture that we're not even seeing. And we're just like such a tiny part of it.
I love flying places, because the second we deal with all this stress, I have, for the past 2 years, I've existed in like essentially 4 rooms in my house. You know what I mean? It's like 95 to 98% of my time was in these different 4 rooms.
Wow.
And beyond that, there was just not many places that I journeyed, because we were in major lockdown for a long time. And once you fly above, you know, even stepping out of your house and you're like, oh, wow, all my problems are in that one little place. But then when you fly up above it, you're like, wow, it's really insignificant. How insignificant our problems are, our challenges are.
Right. No, totally. And I feel that so much. That's probably one of the reasons I love to travel, is it like takes me out of that, like, I don't want to say ego space, because the ego is still there, but it like reminds me that there's something more. And, you know, especially being in the plane and you look down and you literally can't even see any people because you're so high up. Like you're like to the power of 10 up there. You're just looking down at like the rocks and the ocean and the mountains. And it makes you feel very small.
Right. Which is important. But it's also important to remember, like, once we come back, I've always loved the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell, you know, you journey from the known into the unknown, and then the hero returns to the known. And one of the things that I find is, if you can't reincorporate that information, you know, and that's what I loved about surfing. And all my surfer friends, you know, they go out, they paddle out in the morning. And, you know, they wake up early, they paddle out in the morning, they're surfing, and then they come back in and then they live their life. And like every day they take that knowledge, but then they bring that knowledge, that wisdom, that stoke, that beauty into the everyday world, because if you can't bring it into your own, the rest of your life, then you're missing something.
I like that analogy a lot, because I feel like I do that with like everything new that I do. Like, I feel like that's one of the reasons I like to try new things, is because I'm able to go out and like try something new, learn something new, and then bring all those experiences back to like normal life. And it not only gives you like a broader perspective, but I feel like it gives you more connection with more people. And like, people for me are like my passion. I love people so much, and I love community, and I love building friendships and relationships, and just like, I don't know, I feel like the more experiences you can have, the more people you can connect with, the more people you can relate to, and just the broader perspective you can have on the world in general. And I feel like, you're like, I played soccer, I rode horses, like I skateboard, I surf, this one is like, might be shocking, but in college I went to Marine Officer Candidate School. And so I feel like I've like collected so many experiences that have helped me like get exactly where I am today, and build all of these like amazing transformative friendships and relationships and communities. So.
One of the things that's special about that is because I always remember that quote, "A jack of all trades, master of none." And that was always me. But like, that's not the full quote. The full quote goes on and talks about how you actually have all of this knowledge that comes from, I would prefer to be this person who has had so many wild experiences and still be lost than to be the person who has had so few and thinks they have it figured out.
Exactly. Yes. Like and because if you're not lost, you're not searching for anything.
Exactly.
And like, exactly, right? Like I know. Yes. Like, that's perfect.
The wisdom of being lost is important.
Like, I agree so much. The second you think you have it figured out, then you stop like wondering, you stop exploring, you stop traveling, or going back.
When the mystery leaves, when you lose that mystery, you have lost something. And that was kind of the idea of those arts. And it was like in martial arts, the master would train their entire life. And then at the end, they would return to like white belt, was the mentality of like going back to the beginning. Can you come back to this with that same beginner's mind, that same love that you had the first time? Because that's hard. It's not easy, because we imagine the first time that you really skated and enjoyed it, and it was just like, wow, it's so blissful. You didn't judge the bowl. You didn't judge the park. You just were like, this is awesome. But then once we get more information, we enter into judgment, and we start bringing that judgment to things. And that's when we lose the mystery.
Oh, that literally just brought me back to my first time skating. And I was like, I just remember the only thing that mattered was that like the cement was somewhat smooth, Right. Like I was like, oh, this is such good cement. Like, I could carve so well up and down it. Like, that was all I cared about.
Right.
And
being a dad, and I have a 5-year-old, and I get to see it. I get to share with her first time things, first time having pizza. I remember what it was like. And, so and she was just like blown away. She was like, this is amazing. It was really good pizza too, but it was blown away. But we don't get, or we pass over so many of those firsts in our life. And then we have to find that bliss. Now, how do you go about finding your bliss in life?
I feel like, I feel like I've explained it a little bit, but I guess it comes first from like inner peace. Like,
I like that.
If I can have inner peace, then I know I can be happy anywhere. And I think that's one thing that I've done so well throughout my life is like keeping this inner peace, this inner strength, this like knowing of myself. Because if I know that I have myself and that I love who I am and what I'm doing and where I'm going, then any situation I'm going to have this bliss, no matter if I'm, you know, in Quantico, Virginia, like getting yelled at by these staff sergeants, or like surfing the most beautiful beach in, you know, the Philippines or Indonesia. Like no matter where I am, I just have this like sense of belonging, and this is where I belong. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I get the bliss just from trusting the universe, trusting that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, that I'm divinely protected, and that I have a beautiful community that's supporting me.
That's all awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if that.
No, that answers it.
Okay.
I love the inner peace. Now, what are some of the things that you do to cultivate your own inner peace?
Yeah. I love to write. I love to like journal. I've been keeping a journal probably since I was like 10 or 12 years old. Like,
that's awesome.
I remember, like I could look back and just see my writing. It was like the worst handwriting ever, but I remember like documenting my days when I was a kid and just being like, I got to do this today, or like someone was mean to me, or like whatever I had to say. I would just write everything down. And I still do that. I like to write things down. I try to write every day. I've definitely, like, there's so much excitement in Venice that I forget to write sometimes, but just like keeping a journal. I love to do yoga. I'm very extroverted. So like being around people gives me a lot of like inner peace and energy, and like, skateboarding, like I was saying, it's a meditation for me. So just being able to skate every day and get back into the flow state, reconnect with like my body and mind. Also surfing. I love being in the ocean. I feel like it's very cleansing, grounding. Traveling definitely keeps me, I guess what we were talking about, where you need to, like, I have this desire to explore, be in the unknown, meet new people. So when I'm traveling, I feel like, even though sometimes it can be unstable, I find myself in like a very peaceful state when I'm traveling and like moving around. I would say like journaling probably keeps me the most grounded though. And music and dance. I love dance. I like have this huge mirror in my room, and I always put music on, and I dance. I could dance for like hours. And
that's awesome.
Like, yeah, it's super great. It's like the Qigong Tai Chi thing that you were talking about earlier, like the moving of energy. Yeah. I'd say if everyone danced for like an hour a day, we'd all probably be a lot more peaceful and happy.
I think so.
Right?
God knows we need it, right? God knows we need it. Yeah. I think that we get so rigid. Everyone gets so rigid in life, whether it be, I used this example before, probably my least favorite job I've ever had. And it wasn't a job that I had for very long. I quit after a week, was working at Starbucks. Not because I dislike Starbucks, but because I am not a barista. But what you see is when people come in, they do not like change. They do not like it to be made differently. They want what they want. And it makes them feel safe. You know, I want the 2-shot chai tea latte, or they want the grande caramel macchiato. And they really want it to be, you know, heated to the certain temperature and it tastes the same. And it's interesting. There was this great Ryan Reynolds movie recently called Free Guy. Have you seen that?
No.
He's a character in the movie. He's a character in a video game who becomes aware that he's a character in a video game. It's very meta. But one of the first times that he starts realizing that, you know, he's programmed to do the same thing is when he's like, I want to order a different type of coffee. And everyone's like, what the hell? what are you doing, man? It's
my
like,
world is falling apart.
Yeah. And everyone else was like blown away. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Damn.
Now, who are some of the people in your life that have inspired you?
I had a reason you were going to ask this question. And so I thought about it earlier because I was like, everyone always asks, like, who's your inspiration? And I would say, like, every single one of my friends is my inspiration. I don't really watch movies. I don't really, like, follow famous people. I grew up on an 80-acre ranch with, like, no TV until I was older, like, in high school. So I feel like I skipped over that phase of, like, idolizing, like, people and famous people and all that stuff. So I would say, if you're asking, like, in the general sense of the word, inspiration. I'm inspired by all my friends. I take inspiration from all my friends, all my family, all the people that I meet. I feel like I like pick and choose things that inspire me about certain people. Nice. I will name a few people that have, like, shifted the course of my life and like given me inspiration for traveling and for, like, just living this, like, free life. This girl I met in the Philippines, her name is Donna, and her and I traveled all over the Philippines together and then all over Australia together. And she is, like, the most free person I've ever met. Like, she taught me how to, we, like, lived in our car and traveled all along the East Coast and just surfed every day. And I felt like I was super rigid back then, like what you were talking about. Like, I didn't know how to do this, like, kind of free living lifestyle. I didn't know how to be, like, in a sense, homeless, you know? But she's like, I've done this before. She was, like, 5 years older than me. So she, like, really just brought me along the whole journey and was like, okay, like, you know, when you need to shower, we go to the beaches and, like, we can take a quick beach shower. Like, we buy our food here and we can just eat out of the car. Like, it was like, I literally was like her little sister, and she was just guiding me along this whole journey of how to be just comfortable being uncomfortable.
I love that. Yeah. How to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Exactly. And I feel like most of that came from, like, the ego. Like, I was like, oh my God, what do people think about me? Like, I don't have a house and I'm probably smell bad and I'm, like, my hair's all messy because I've been surfing all day. But just learning how to, like, it, you know, we're here, I'm here, I'm living this experience, this journey, and it doesn't matter what people think. And that's something that's taken me a long time to learn. But I feel now that I'm able to give that to other people. And, like, I went to this music festival this weekend and I just love to dance crazy and just, like, express myself through dance. And one of my friends was like, thank you so much for being that way, because it makes me feel like I can also be that way. And so just, I feel like that's something I took from my friend Donna, is, like, it's okay to be exactly how you are, because then that allows other people to be exactly how they want to be or how they're meant to be. And so,
we are we are programmed from early on to fit in, to be, you know, inside this box. And the box is so cultural and it's so out of date. And you know, and it's BS, you know, there's nothing to it. There's certainly, I mean, if everyone was trying to live out of their cars and surf up and down the beach, I think it would be pretty awesome. But, you know, it might be a hard time to, like, get certain things done in society because society wouldn't kind of function. But yet maybe we would understand our world a little bit better if we could have that experience, you know, have some of that wisdom. And maybe it's not that. Maybe it's something different. Maybe people find their bliss in a different way. You know, there was a great psychologist, I believe his name was Robert Jampolsky, and he's, like, one of the world's experts on stress reduction or of what stress, how stress can absolutely just devastate an animal. It's physical, like, cality, like, it just, the body, it just gets destroyed with stress. And I was on and when he came to speak at my school, and I was on a big yoga kick, and I was like, yoga is the answer. And I love yoga. But when I asked him that, and he said, I said, Will, if you take a stressed animal and you put it under stress, it will give it heart disease and cancer and all these other problems. But if you take the stress away, the animal heals. Its body heals. And that was the beautiful thing. And so I was like, okay, I raised my hand. I was like, is yoga the answer? And he's like, no. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, it's so individually specific, because he says you can take one guy and put him in yoga, and that yoga class is going to stress him out. But you take that same man and send him fly fishing, and then suddenly he's just like, that's his thing. And that's the thing that allows him to de-stress. And, fly fishing would make me pretty nuts. I'm just like, what am I doing? But for each person, it's unique. It's just about how can you find your way to kind of bring it back in, I
will say that spinal warm-ups are good for everyone, and everyone.
I agree.
Yoga, I'm like, yoga might not be, the most stress-reducing thing for everyone, but everyone needs to warm up their spine, because we all live
I do think that yoga, and I disagree with him. I think yoga is a phenomenal thing, and I think if everyone was doing yoga, people would be way healthier.
Oh,
but I think that his point was simply about everyone has a different bliss.
Yeah.
And, everyone gets their stoke in a different way,
Totally. Exactly.
But you have to find out what it is.
Exactly. When you asked that question, I was just thinking, one thing that I do get a lot of bliss from is from the challenge and the unknown, like the mixture of the two. Like, will I be able to do this? Like, that's the challenge part, but also like the newness of it, like something that I've never done before. And my friend and I have been talking, and I'm like, not that I feel stagnant, but I'm like, I want something more. I need something like, to challenge me in a new way. And I have this like freaking genius idea. I want to skate from San Francisco to Venice. I want to skateboard.
That's awesome.
Because, right? And it's so new, but it's something that I like. Skateboarding, it's my passion, but like skateboarding like 350 miles, like that's gnarly. So that's like the challenge, the newness of it. So
that's awesome. I mean, that's the type of thing. That's the type of thing that, inspires people too. Did you ever remember? I was way before your time, but maybe you've heard of him. The guy Terry Fox. Terry Fox was this guy. It's old, but there's a famous run named after him. So Terry Fox was this guy from Canada, and he was playing sports, and all of a sudden he started getting this ache in his leg, and he was sore. So the parents took him to the doctor, and he had cancer. And so they cut off his leg, and this is in the 70s when the prosthetics weren't as good, and so he got an artificial leg. And people were like, well, what are you going to do now? And he's like, I want to run across Canada. And so he ran all the way. So that Forrest Gump running across the country was kind of modeled after Terry Fox. And so Terry ran across Canada, and then he touched the ocean, and he turned around and ran back. But he did it to inspire people. And the idea of like, you can do these things, like undertaking something like that is not for everyone, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But sharing your journey and telling people about it is so powerful, because it inspires them to maybe they can't do something grand like that. Maybe it's just not in their ability, but maybe they can try to order their coffee a different way,
Yeah. Yes.
And maybe that starts the ball rolling to try other things.
Yes, I love that.
Now, what would you, if I had Aladdin's lamp, what would you wish for? Where do you want to take your life? What would you wish for? You get 3 wishes.
Oh my God. Endless adventure.
I love that.
Is one. A beautiful tree house right on the edge of this beautiful ocean, overlooking the waves, with an amazing skate park and pump track in the back. And like a yoga surf skate retreat, and just like community vibes everywhere. Like everyone's sharing, everyone's cooking dinner together, everyone's raising their kids together, everyone's surfing, doing yoga, meditation, dance. Like that's the dream.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, what do you see yourself doing in like 10 more years, 20 years? What do you want to be doing?
Oh my God. I think life is going to unfold in so many different insane ways that I literally couldn't even tell you.
Right.
I'm going to probably say yes to so many different crazy opportunities that I might be somewhere maybe around the world, or I'll be right here in Venice, or I'll be in Mexico, or, Australia, the Philippines, who knows? But I can guarantee I'll be skating, and I'll probably be doing something really exhilarating and amazing and fun. Probably still be dancing. And how old I'll be 35 in 10 years. I might have kids at that point. Who knows?
For sure.
But,
now
yeah.
would you like to, with skating, is this something that, would you want to, I'm always inspired by, what's her name? Sky Brown, a little girl.
Oh my God, me too.
Well, she was little. Now she's, a teenager who's crushing it at the Olympics.
Oh my God, I did this.
Amazing. Like they just starting so early, and she became this force of nature on her board. Amazing.
Yeah.
Now,
are you asking if I want to be like Sky Brown?
do you want to raise your kids to like get on skateboards like early?
Oh my God. Well, my passion will probably like trickle over to my kids. So I'm assuming that they're just going to want to skate and surf and adventure because it's going to be instilled in them at such a young age. But I'm also like, my parents never pushed me to do anything that I didn't want to do. So I'm like, okay, you don't have to do it, but like, you're going to love to do it because it's amazing and fun.
Right. And then, so do you want to be like Sky Brown?
Oh no. I mean, geez, if I started skating at like age 3 or something, I would definitely be like, yes, I want to be like Sky Brown. But for me, it's not, maybe I'll learn to skate some vert and like do some airs and stuff. But my goal isn't to be like in the Olympics or in, like competing.
What is your goal?
With skateboarding?
Mm-hmm.
I guess just to have fun. It's definitely just to have fun, to build community, to inspire other girls to skate. I love teaching young girls to skate. Like up north in Sonoma County, I have these 2 girls. Well, I have probably like 10 girls that I like kind of taught to skate, or we did, like my best friend and I did a skate camp. So we like got a bunch of girls on skateboards and we brought them to all these different skate parks. But 2 of the girls who we taught are now like amazing skaters. They're like, one of them is skating 14-foot vert ramps and training at like the California training facility. So she's like gotten so inspired and she's so passionate about skating. So just being able to like kind of be a mentor for her and be like, dude, you can literally do anything. Like anything's possible. I'm here for you. Like, I don't know, just to be that kind of supporter is super inspiring for me also.
It's awesome that when you see that you've been the person who's planted the seeds in someone. I remember I had a young videographer who came to work with me, and I taught him everything I knew, and now he's out. He's a successful director, and he's crushing it. And it made me go, yes, I had a part in that. Exactly.
And these girls are now teaching me. Like, it's amazing. Right? It's such, like I'm amazed. It's amazing.
Well, it's like we learn so much by giving back. We learn so much by sharing our passions.
Exactly.
It's awesome like that.
Exactly.
Now,
I love that.
If you could go back in time and give advice to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself? Not talking about changing the past. We're not going like Back to the Future, but what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say it's all going to work out. Trust the process and just have fun. Like, it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be good. Yeah. Enjoy the ride. Really simple, but yeah, I feel
it's simple, but it's deep.
Yeah. But looking back, I'm like, everything, I don't want to say everything I ever wanted I got, because that's not true, but everything that I put my heart towards and I put my passion and my time and my dedication towards brought me exactly where I maybe didn't want to go, but where I was meant to go, where I was meant to meet this person who introduced me to this person who taught me how to skate, or who, like, everything works out exactly how it's meant to.
But it takes courage to give things a chance. It takes courage to step into that fear. And I've always been fascinated by fear, because fear is so crippling, right? It just makes us feel just frozen. It freezes you. But yet, if you can push beyond the fear, if you can step beyond it, the world is yours.
Totally. And I think that's where faith comes in a lot, actually, is just like having the faith. You don't have to have faith in God or whatever. It's just like having the faith that everything's going to work out. Having the faith that, like, if you're a good person, you're going to attract good people. Having the faith that if you put in time, your time will be, like, reciprocated, or, it's just having the faith, keeping the faith.
Yeah. And I think along with that, exactly. And whatever you believe, and having that belief in yourself as well.
Yeah.
That you can handle it, that you can weather this,
Totally.
I think that we so often don't realize how powerful we are, and how absolutely, like, dynamic we can be. And I think that once we learn to embrace that, the world opens up for us. But you have to step through the door. And exactly. I know I hate flying. I love it and I hate it. I hate going to the airport. I hate the stress of checking in. But once I'm in the air, I'm just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm going somewhere. Yeah. This is awesome. But you have to push through that fear.
Exactly. I love the word courage that you use, because I feel like that's something that I've always felt that I had, is courage. But more than courage, like, the word resilience comes to my mind, is like,
I love that.
Yeah. Like, I was writing maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago, something. And I was like, one of the questions was like, if you could use one word to describe yourself, what would you use? And I said the word resilient, because I feel like it encompasses even more than courage. Like, courage is like, I have courage, but what am I going to do with that courage? And, like, having resilience is like, you're going to keep moving forward regardless of, the mountains that are in your way. You're going to keep moving forward, and with, like, so much grace and flow and ease and, like, all of these things. So yeah, I like the word courage, but I love the word resilient.
Me too. I hate this song, but I love this song because it's so true. Do you ever remember that Chumbawamba song? I get knocked down, but I get up again. It's old. It's like 90s. You're never going to keep me down. I'm dating myself. It's like 10 years old, but it's this, it's really cheesy, but like literally the words are, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. And
exactly.
it was like,
oh, I know. I think I know that song. Yeah. Exactly.
It's so cheesy. It's so cheesy. You listen to it, you're like, God, but I love it. I love the words, man.
Yeah. It's like inspiring. It's like, you get knocked down, but like, can you get back up and keep moving?
Yep. Because, in life, the one constant is the reality that we're going to get knocked down. We're going to get thrown up against adversity. But, it's just like, I remember when I was trying to learn to duck dive, and oh my God.
So hard.
So hard. Getting my butt handed to me, again. And then hauled halfway back into the beach because I did it wrong. And you want to quit, but then you can't. If you want to really enjoy the experience, you just got to keep going.
Exactly.
And push yourself to get there,
Exactly. Yeah. Duck diving is freaking hard. I longboard usually. So for me, duck diving isn't even an option. I'm like, but yeah, exactly. You just got to keep going.
Right. Well, I want to say I have appreciated this time in this conversation tonight.
Thank you. Me too. I'm like, I'm super inspired from your questions. And just how insightful and like, seriously, like amazing. You got me to like think about some things that I haven't thought about. So thank you.
I find that these discussions, these conversations that I have with people are always exactly what I need to hear. It's the time and the moments of that. I needed to hear that information. Mm-hmm. I might have felt discouraged. I might have not, known what my next step is. But in that conversation, sometimes I will have stuff that's illuminated. And I remember for my own self, that's right. That's a lesson I need to continue to remember, and that's kind of how I approach these. It's like, what can I learn today?
Yeah.
If I can be open.
The same way.
Right.
So, for real. It's like, I feel like I was just giving myself advice.
Right. And I hope that somebody out there listening can also find that it's inspiring for them. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And that's what I love about the people that skate, like at these different skate parks. You might not know it, but there are people watching. There might be a kid who's just watching you, and that was the seed that needed to be planted. And I think that if we can always try to inspire people, you know what? The world is a much more rich place for it.
Exactly. I love that. Amen. Like, yeah.